So the application programming interface that I chose was the Geolocation API. The reason why I chose it is I just think it's really interesting, and prior to doing a little research, I had very little knowledge as to how geolocation actually worked on mobile devices. Um, so I'm gonna just kind of walk through the basics of it, and then some of the functionality and how JavaScript is used in the geolocation API, and then I have a few examples using the geolocation API on a couple of different websites and with Google Maps. So basically the rundown on the geolocation API is it's used to locate a user's position. Normally, depending on the device, it has a couple of different ways of doing this. If the device has a GPS chip in it, then it can use that GPS chip. Personally, all I use are Mac products, so the Mac products don't have a GPS chip in them, so to the best of my understanding, what I've seen is it uses cell towers and Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi network to locate your position. But basically all of the HTML geolocation uses JavaScript and kind of uses the object oriented style in JavaScript, to my understanding. Like I said, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to JavaScript. But there are a bunch of methods that are used. This get current position method is the one that's used to return the user's position. So in this code example down here, I know we haven't used JavaScript, but figured I would point it out. In this one, this is going to return the latitude and longitude of the user's position. And one thing that I'll point out is, in order for geolocation to be used, the user always has to accept that their location is being used. It doesn't just automatically run. So, for example, I just have a couple of different websites here that I'm assuming is using geolocation or has to use geolocation. So Weather Underground here or IntelliCast, if you click on this little button, if it'll let me. Maybe I can't do that with screencast on. Yeah, I guess it's not going to let me while I'm doing screencast-o-matic. But here is one popular geolocation tool is Google Maps. So basically, once you put in all of the JavaScript required to use geolocation, it's going to pop up a map for you with the location found. So I'm here in Pittsburgh, Kansas, currently recording this. So a lot of different businesses and websites use the Google Maps geolocation API, which is very popular. Let's see. So I kind of looked into the Google Maps API in a little bit more detail. So for Google Maps, like I said, it's going to use cell towers and Wi-Fi. I'm a little unsure what Wi-Fi nodes are, but this is going to detect your location. I thought this part was pretty cool just because in the last section we talked about this. But geolocation requests, I know in the last chapter, or I think it was chapter 10, we talked about, or the book talked about how the server and the user interact. So here is the post address that you would use in your HTML if you were using Google's geolocation API. So I thought that was kind of cool. The rest of this is all of the JavaScript, that's required to use it. But basically, kind of in summary, here's another example. To my knowledge, what I read, since I have pretty much exclusively Mac products, is that there is some type of what I'm assuming geolocation API built into the operating system for a Mac. But once again, this is just another example of geolocation. If you click the little arrow, then it takes you to your current location. So I believe that geolocation APIs, or the what do I want to say here? The idea behind them has saved my butt quite a few times, because I use the Find My app for my Apple products quite a bit, because I tend to lose things. But basically, in summation, the geolocation API is used to return a location for a user on a website. Most of the time, at least with Macs, that uses cell towers and Wi-Fi to pinpoint your location. If your device has a GPS chip in it, it can also use that.